Alrighty, we're going to talk about some percent problems. And to celebrate the idea that mathematics is such an interesting subject, Mrs. Dolly and the Warrior students went to Prince Pizza. Mrs. Dolly did not want to even think about how much she was going to pay, so she just told the waitress to put her credit card into the machine. She instructed the waitress to take a 20% tip. As she left the restaurant, Mrs. Dolly asked the waitress how much money the tip came to. The waitress said $144. How much money did the meal cost, not including the tip? This is a great question. I like this question here. Let's see if we can circle some key terms. I think this 20%, anytime you see numbers, is a math problem. And this 144. And is there anything else? Not including the tip. I think that's an important piece of information. But that's about it. So the way we set these up, this is called the proportion right here. You can do this a number of ways, but I'm going to use a proportion. You can use a part to whole. So we're going to line up our parts, and on the bottom we're going to put the whole thing. So with the part, 20% a part, it's not the whole thing. The whole thing would be 100%, and that's not in the problem. So we've got those ingredients, and then 144 would be the part as well, because that's the tip. The meal is kind of the whole thing. And if we wanted to know with it including the tip, we would actually have to make this 120% because you're including 100% of the meal plus the extra 20% for the tip. But we're not asking for that. We're only asking for the meal, so we don't have to do anything. We can just put a variable right here. And you can go about this two ways. You could ask yourself, well, what did I multiply 20 by to get to 144? Or you could do what we call cross multiplying. I'll cross multiply on this one, and then I'll do it the other way with finding equivalent fractions on the next problem. So to cross multiply, I would do 100 times 144. Let me use a different color for this, just to show you. I would use 100 times 144. So we get 100 times 144. And that equals 20 times x. And 1 times 144 is just 144. So we're just going to add two zeros onto this, 14,400 equals some number times 20. We would do the inverse, which is divide by 20. And now we just have a division problem. And you can see when we're done with this division problem, you're going to get 720, and that would be the cost of the bill. And that kind of makes sense if you just look back on the problem. The tip shouldn't be higher than the actual bill. It should be about a fifth of the bill, right? 20% is simplified to 1/5. And so 144, that's about 1/5 of 720. If you did the math, it would actually be exactly 1/5 of 720. Let's try another one. Like I said, we're going to try this one with fractions. So Mr. Sharender's favorite class block, we'll call it block C, went to celebrate how awesome they are at the hilltop. When it came to time to give the tip, we'll say that Tim agreed to pay the tip, and Tim ended up paying $133. And the bill was the tip was 19% instead of 20% this time. So 19 out of 100, and that's your part to whole relationship. Parts on the top, wholes on the bottom. They paid $133 for the tip, so that's up here. And then the whole would be down here. Again, we could cross multiply. This time I said we're going to use equivalent fractions. 19 times what equals 133? I don't know if it'll even go in evenly. Let's find out. If it did go in evenly, I'd say it's times 7, since it ends in a 3. 9 times 7 gets me a 3 right there. We carry the 6. It actually does go in evenly. All right. So that's 7 times. So x would have to equal 100 times 7. X would equal 700 here. So the bill would come to $700. Hopefully you understand how we got there. Part to whole again. The bill would be $700 plus the tip would be $133. The total meal would be $833. And then this last one here. While shopping at the Mall of America, Carlos found a sweater that was only 20 bucks. It was perfect since Carlos had exactly $20 left. When the clerk was ringing up the bill, she asked for $21.75. Carlos had completely forgotten about the sales tax. I've done that before. What percentage was the sales tax he was charged? So just he's maybe curious about how much he was charged here. Part to whole again. Well, I don't know the percent, but I know the percent over 100. So there's your part that you're looking for. And the part that goes with X would be $1.75. That's how much this is the sales tax, and this is how much he was charged for the sales. And then the whole thing here on the bottom, let's think about this. 100% of the bill, this would be $20, right? Because 100% of the cost is 20 bucks, and then actually the sales tax is 100% whatever the sales tax was. That's your total cost. So we have 20 times X, if we cross multiply, equals 175. 100 times 1.75 is 175. If we divide this by 20 and divide this by 20, I think we'll get our answer there. X equals, well, whatever this happens to be. Now this won't go in evenly, of course, because it ends in a 5. But that's going to go in 8 times, so we'll get 160. And if we subtract, we'll have 15 left over. So 8 and 0, 3/4 of a percent. 15 out of 20 is 3/4 of a percent. So it would be, to make this as a decimal, 0.0875. That makes sense, the 3/4 being 75 here. So we'd have to make it 0.08 as a tax rate. This would be 8.75%.